Hello, how have you been? Welcome to today's class. Have you been finding it difficult to understand direct and indirect speech? Is it still unclear as to what you must change when you report what someone else has said? Then it's time to pay attention to this lesson as I will be explaining the changes you must make to statements when you report them. This includes changes to pronoun, changes to tenses, and changes to time markers. So once again, I welcome you to this lesson on direct and indirect speech. Direct and indirect speech. Indirect speech, also called reported speech. I need you to understand that when we use the exact words of the speaker, it is called direct speech. But when someone else who has witnessed the event reports what happened, it is known as indirect speech. When we want to repeat what someone else has said, we usually use a special formulation called indirect or reported speech. Okay, for example, this is a direct speech. John said, I often come here. Now, we've put John's exact words in quotation mark. Now, in answer to what did John say, we must switch to indirect speech, and it will now read, John said he often came here, or John said that he often came here. Now, let's compare the direct and the indirect statements. In the direct statement, we have John said, I often come here. Then in the indirect statement, we have John said that he often came here. So what has changed? First of all, the pronoun has changed to indicate the person who spoke. So I has changed to he. Secondly, the verb of the original sentence has changed its tense. Okay? From the simple present to the simple past. Come to came. And as you can also see, the two parts of the sentence, reporting verb and reported sentence, can be connected with conjunction that. Note that if the reporting verb is in the present, there is no need for tense change. For example, I often come here. Direct speech from John. Now, to answer the question, what is John saying? You simply say, he is saying that he often comes here. Okay, the verb stays in the same tense form, the simple present tense form. Okay? There are many reporting verbs for statements, however, but the most common reporting verbs are say, tell, and explain. Say, tell, and explain. So be careful that with say and explain, you have a choice to specify the person or not. If you specify the person, then you must use the preposition to. For example, he said to her, or they explained to us. With tell, you should specify the person. So the sentence will read, he told her, or they told us. I hope that is clear. Then, talking about tense changes. The tense of the original sentence changes in reported speech in the following ways we want to look at, especially when we are talking about verb to be and modal verbs. So, am or is we change to was. Are we change to were. Was and were we change to had been. Okay? Can simply changes to could. Must can remain as must. No need for a change. Or you could say had to. May changes to might. Might does not change. It remains the way it is. And could can remain that way or be had been able to. Shall turns to should. And should remains the way it is, whereas ought to remains the way it is as well. So please take note of this. But for the simple tenses, do and does turns to did. Okay? Did turns to had done. Will do becomes would do. Then as for the perfect tenses, have and has done becomes had done. Had done now remains as had done, doesn't change. Okay? Then will have done becomes would have done. Take note of will changes to would. Okay? Then when we are dealing with the continuous tenses, am, is, are doing, remember these ones are all present continuous tense, now becomes was or were doing. Have or has been doing becomes had been doing. Was and were doing becomes had been doing. And had been doing does not change, it remains as it were. Will be doing changes to would be doing. And lastly, will have been doing becomes would have been doing. Take note of all of these, please. There are two other tenses to consider. One is used to, and it doesn't change. It stays as used to. Then we have am, is, are going to do. It changes to was or we're going to do. Alright, that's all for tense changes. Let's look at the changes we make to time markers. Time markers sometimes need to change to keep the sense of the sentence. For example, she said, I'll call you tomorrow. She said, I'll call you tomorrow. In indirect speech, you need to change tomorrow to the next day or the following day. So she said that she would call me the next day, or she said she would call me the following day. Now in the example, John told her, I handed in the report yesterday. Yesterday changes to the day before. Okay? It changes to the day before. Moving on. The next word is next week or other expressions with next, such as next month or next year. So in the example, we told him we're coming back next week. You change it to the following week. So we told him we were coming back the following week. Please take note of that. Another time marker, or just before that, we didn't visit Lisbon last year, she said. Okay? Last year, whether last week or last month, when it's just about last, in the indirect speech, it will be the year before or the week before or the night before. So we say she said they hadn't visited Lisbon the year before. Okay? Now, as for now, which is also one word that gives us difficulty, we must leave now. They said they had to leave then. So now becomes then or immediately. We must leave immediately. Now, other words that we have to be careful about also are this and these. Okay, demonstratives. They change to that and those. So in the example, this is the last bus. What do we say? She said that was the last bus. They told us we've chosen these books. These changes to those. So what we have there is they told us they had chosen those books. Now other words that change include here, which changes to there, especially if the location has changed. So in the example, we've been living here for 20 years. In the indirect speech or in the reported speech, we have been living there for 20 years. Now would will also change to want. Remember that I would like to is a formal equivalent of I want, used only in the present tense. To report a sentence with this expression, make sure you use the verb want. Okay, so if I get the sentence, she said I would like to be a singer. So when you are reporting this sentence, it will read, she said she wanted to be a singer. Now, in he said, I would like some rice, please. In the indirect speech, it becomes, he said he wanted some rice. So we've come to the end of this topic, okay? Note these points. First of all, the quotation marks are used to mark off the exact words of the original speaker in direct speech. Secondly, in indirect speech, no quotation marks are used. Okay? Then number 3, the conjunction that is used to introduce indirect speech. And lastly, the tense used with indirect speech must be in the past unless a fact is stated. Alright, it's been nice being with you. Go ahead, do your fun game, do your assignments. I'll be glad to meet you in the next class. Bye, and remember to remain safe. I love you.